Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation. I'm excited to have you here. Today, we'll be exploring 6 signs you've given up on love unintentionally. We'll look at how some of our habits and mindsets might be holding us back without us realizing it. Over the next few minutes, I'll share insights that can help you reconnect with love and open your heart again. So let's get started. Have you ever felt like love just doesn't seem to work out for you, no matter how much effort you put in? Maybe you're going out, meeting new people, trying to stay open-minded, even using dating apps. And yet, somehow, nothing really clicks or feels right. It can be incredibly discouraging. You start to wonder, where is my right match? Why does it seem like love works so easily for everyone else but not for me? These feelings are more common than you think, and they tie into the bigger picture of understanding what's really happening behind the scenes when it comes to finding love. Falling in love and staying open to it can be one of the most vulnerable and challenging experiences in life. Many people, without even realizing it, start to give up on love over time. It's not necessarily because they don't want love, but often because they've been hurt, disappointed, or emotionally drained too many times. On this slide, I want to highlight 6 psychological signs that might indicate you've unconsciously given up on love. The first is vulnerability. When someone is truly open, despite past hurts, it's a sign of courage, but sometimes we close ourselves off to protect ourselves. Next is opening the heart despite past hurts, meaning, even with the risk of getting hurt again, some still manage to stay open, which is a positive sign. But exhaustion is also common. When disappointments pile up, we can become emotionally worn down. Surrender is another key point. This is when we unconsciously start to let go of hope, perhaps thinking that love isn't meant for us anymore. Recognizing these signs can help us understand where we might be in our emotional journey and how we can begin to reconnect with the possibility of love again. It's about understanding these inner signals so we can navigate the path toward openness and connection. So imagine you go into a date full of hope and excitement, right? But then things don't go as planned. Maybe the chemistry isn't there or the conversation feels forced. And instead of just accepting that not every date will be perfect, you start to turn inward. You begin questioning yourself, thinking, why can't I find the right person? Or what's wrong with me? Over time, these thoughts can become patterns that really hold us back. What happens is, we stop seeing dating as a process of discovery, of learning about ourselves and others. Instead, we start viewing each experience as a personal failure. And each of those perceived failures seems to confirm a hidden belief that love isn't meant for us. This is a common trap, but understanding it is the first step to changing how we approach dating and ultimately how we see ourselves in the process. You know, when friends or family try to set us up, our responses can become pretty predictable. We often say, "I already know how it's going to end," almost as a way to shield ourselves from disappointment. That sense of resignation, it's like a safety net. By expecting the worst or just dismissing the idea altogether, we avoid risking rejection or further hurt. Instead of putting ourselves out there and facing the unknown, we tend to retreat into the comfort of solitude, whether that's binge-watching Netflix, focusing on work, or diving into hobbies. It feels safer, right? But here's the truth. This avoidance isn't because we're not interested. It's often because we're emotionally exhausted. We've been disappointed too many times before, and now our subconscious is saying, why bother risking it again? That resignation, that tendency to settle into solitude, is really just a protective mechanism, an attempt to avoid more pain, even if it means missing out on something potentially great. Sometimes, when I'm around couples, I notice a feeling of jealousy or disconnection creeping in. It's like everyone around me is pairing off, building these lives together, and I find myself still alone. What used to bring joy when I saw others happy now can trigger feelings of sadness or jealousy instead. It's a tough realization, but it's part of the process. You might even find yourself pulling away from friends who are in relationships, not because you dislike them, but because seeing their happiness reminds you of what you're missing. That emotional distancing, in a way, is a quiet form of surrender. It's how the heart tries to protect itself from the ache of longing, from feeling too much of that pain. Understanding this is important because it shows us how these feelings are natural, and they're part of the human experience, especially on this journey of finding love and connection. It's about recognizing these moments without judgment and knowing they're part of our growth. So here's the thing. When we've been hurt enough times, it's easy to start thinking that everyone is playing some kind of game. Ghosting, mixed signals, emotional manipulation. These experiences leave scars, and over time, they shape how we see others. It's almost like we begin to view dating as a battlefield and ourselves as soldiers trying not to get wounded again. That's when we start building walls around ourselves as a way to protect our hearts. We convince ourselves that it's safer to label people as players rather than hope for something genuine. But what's often hidden behind that armor is someone who still deeply craves connection, someone who just might be too afraid to trust again. So, while building walls feels like self-protection, it also keeps us from experiencing what we truly desire: meaningful, trusting relationships. So, when it comes to settling or chasing perfection in love, it's important to understand that giving up doesn't always mean walking away entirely. Sometimes, it's about settling for someone you don't truly love just to avoid being alone. You might tell yourself it's good enough, but deep down, it often doesn't feel right. On the flip side, some people set impossible standards. They want the perfect partner with every box checked, but the perfect person simply doesn't exist. Both of these patterns, settling and over-idealizing, stem from the same root: fear. Fear of disappointment, fear of getting hurt again, and even fear that love in its real, imperfect form might not be enough. When we settle, we're trying to avoid loneliness or pain, but it often leads to dissatisfaction. When we chase perfection, it's driven by a fear that anything less won't measure up. Ultimately, understanding these tendencies helps us see how fear influences our choices, and how both extremes can prevent us from experiencing genuine, meaningful love. Sometimes you might find yourself doubting your ability to love or to be loved. Maybe you've loved before, but it ended painfully, leaving scars and doubts. Or perhaps you've never truly experienced what others describe as being in love, and that can leave you feeling uncertain. Either way, these experiences can lead you to question your emotional capacity. You might ask yourself, was what I felt real? Or can I ever love that deeply again? Or even, am I even lovable? These kinds of thoughts can quietly take hold, convincing you that love might not be in your future, that it's safer to stop trying altogether. But here's the thing: those doubts, those questions, they don't mean you're broken. They actually mean you're healing. It's a sign that you're processing past pain and protecting yourself from further hurt. Remember, questioning your love doesn't mean you're incapable of love. It means you're in the process of healing and growth. Feeling discouraged after heartbreak doesn't mean you've failed. It actually means you care deeply, and that's something to be proud of. Often, when we experience pain, it can feel overwhelming, and sometimes it leads us to think about giving up on love altogether. But the truth is, pain and hope can coexist. They're both part of the healing process. The key isn't rushing back into a new relationship. It's about reconnecting with yourself first, understanding what you need, and healing at your own pace. If you notice certain signs within yourself, like feeling stuck, withdrawing, or doubting love, it's important to remember that love hasn't left you. It's simply waiting, patiently, for you to be ready to open that door again. Talking to someone you trust or seeking professional support can be incredibly helpful in navigating these feelings. Healing takes time, but with self-awareness, patience, and kindness toward yourself, you'll find the courage to love again, gently, slowly, and with a wiser heart. Remember, it's a journey, and every step forward is a sign of strength.